I remember a time early in my career, I was about 24, and I went to do a seminar in Boston. And in those days, a big seminar for me was like 125 people. And it was a 3-day seminar, and we worked around the clock, and people made such extraordinary changes in their life. And at the end of it, I was feeling so fulfilled. I was thinking, my God, I'm 24, maybe 25 at the time, and I am so happy because I have found my mission in life. I'm doing what I love. It's making a difference in people's lives. This is extraordinary. So we finished about midnight on the Sunday night. And around midnight, I'm still wound up, so I don't feel like going to bed. So I decided, okay, let me take a walk here, and I decided to go through Copley Square. If you've been through Copley Square, it's a pretty neat place. Because in Copley Square, you can look up and you can see buildings that were here before we were known as the United States, and beside them you see skyscrapers that are new. It's a pretty cool place. So I'm walking around midnight on Sunday night. There's nobody in Copley Square midnight on Sunday night. And I'm walking along, and I see this guy in the distance, and he's kind of stumbling back and forth between the gutter and the sidewalk. He's got a long trench coat on, his head's down like this. He's holding a brown bag, and I can start to smell him even before I get there, and I'm thinking, this guy is obviously drunk. And as I started to get closer, I thought, I bet he's going to beg me for some money. And sure enough, whatever you focus on life tends to happen, doesn't it? So sure enough, he gets real close to me, and I thought all of a sudden he wasn't going to do it, and all of a sudden he popped his head up. It was really weird. He went, "Mister!" He had this really bizarre looking sounding voice. He went, "Mister, could you loan me a quarter?" And I thought, do I want to reward this behavior? And then I thought, I don't want him to suffer. Do you have this dilemma sometimes? Like, I'm not here to judge. So years ago, I finally decided I always just give. Even if the person's pulling a scam, that's for them to deal with. If I have the ability, then I give. And so I thought, but could I teach him something? So I asked him a question back. I said, is that all you want is a quarter? So he goes, yeah, just one quarter. One quarter changed my whole life. One quarter. I said, really? He said, yeah, one quarter. So I reached in my pocket, and I pulled out my money clip. And in those days, I was very young, just starting to succeed. And my original mentor was a man named Jim Rohn. I don't know, how many have heard of Jim Rohn? Anybody? Yeah, he's a great guy. And Jim told me, he said, Tony, look, you've come from a poor background. You got a poor psychology. You got to change it. He said, you don't have any money, so pretend you do. He said, start training your brain. Condition it. He said, go save all your money, get $300 bills, and put them on the outside of your money clip, even though you only have $5 in between them. So every time you put it out, you'll see that, you'll feel inspired, you'll feel better. He said, and you'll feel better, you'll do better. So I was like, okay. So I did. So I pulled my money clip, and sure enough, I got $300 bills in. I made sure he saw the bills. So I'm tearing through that, right? Looking in between there, see if I can find some change. But I made sure he saw it. Sure enough, he's looking at the $100 bills, checking it out. I find the quarter, I pull it out, take the money, put it in my pocket. I notice he's watching my hand going into the pocket. I took the quarter, and I looked at him, and I said, sir, life will pay any price you ask of it. And I gave him the quarter. And then something really interesting happened. He took the quarter. He looked at the quarter. He looked at me. He looked at my pocket. He looked back at the quarter, looked at me, looked at my pocket, looked at me again, looked at the quarter, looked at my pocket, looked back at me and said, "You're weird." And then he shuffled on off like this, right? And I thought to myself, wow, what's the difference between him and me? I mean, I was 24, 25 at the time, doing what I love most, have my mission in life, and he's in his early 60s, drunk on the street begging for quarters. What's the difference? And I thought, well, maybe God's blessed me because I'm such a good person. I thought, and he's such a bad person, that's such bull. And I thought, wow, maybe the answer to that question is what I just told him. Life will pay whatever price you ask of it. But you know what's interesting? You got to ask intelligently. In the Bible it says, ask and you shall what? Yeah, pretty good formula. You ought to look into it. But you know what? It says, ask and you shall receive, but I'm sure it meant ask intelligently. I'm sure that's what God meant. I'm sure he didn't mean bitch and you will receive. Whine and you will receive. I don't think that was the instruction. Now, if you were going to ask intelligently, there might be 5 elements of that. Number one, you'd have to ask specifically, wouldn't you? You wouldn't ask in a general way. People do that all the time. They go, I want more money. Fine, here's $1, get out of here. Very often, you're getting what you're asking for. You're just not aware of how general you're asking. Clarity is power. The more clear you are about exactly what it is you want, the more your brain knows how to get there. Your brain is a servo mechanism. It's like a bomb. Those bombs, those missiles, they have a servo mechanism. So if the target moves, it knows what the target is, it follows it. Your brain, when you condition it, knows exactly what to go for and it'll find a way to get there. Did you ever buy a certain outfit or a certain car and suddenly see that car outfit everywhere? How many of you had that experience? Say, aye. How come that car outfit's everywhere? It always was everywhere, but now you notice it. And the reason is because there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS. That part of your brain determines what you notice and what you don't notice. Your brain spends most of its time trying to make sure you don't notice because you'll go crazy if you notice everything. But when you decide what's most important to you, your brain goes after it. Everyone I know who's successful builds what I call an RPM plan. An RPM is built on the metaphor that the way to get from where you are to where do you want to go to the fastest is you got to build power, like in a car, RPMs. And the R stands for they know the result they're after. They know what they want precisely. If you don't know exactly what you want or you let yourself get beyond that into something general, you're not going to achieve it. Clarity is power. You got to know the specific result you're after. What do you want? If you can't answer that question right now in your personal life, in your body, in your relationships, in your finances, in your spirituality, then you're not going to be as fulfilled as you want to be. Today we're going to have you answer one of those questions at least. The second part of it, you got to know P, why you're doing it. Because you know what? You may get a big goal. Somebody says, I want to make $1 billion. I want to bring peace to the earth. Why? Because as soon as you come up with a goal, all the obstacles show up. And unless you've got enough emotional drive to break through that, you're never going to discover what it really takes. So you got to get yourself past that. And the way to get past that is have enough reasons. Reasons come first, answers come second. This man did not know what he wanted. He did not have enough reasons. To ask intelligently, you got to ask specifically. To ask intelligently, you got to know why you want it, have enough drive to make it happen, enough juice to make it happen. If you don't have enough reasons, you will not make it happen. And the M is, what is your massive action plan? What is going to get you to actually fall through? Because the first plan's not going to work and the second plan's going to work, so you better have enough plans that if the first two don't work, you still got something else. Otherwise, you're going to be having excuses why it didn't work. So asking intelligently requires that. So if we're going to be extraordinary in our results, we've got to be in an extraordinary state. We've got to know what we want and we got to go use it.
Leave it, just try missing one.
Better.
I think that what you have to do is realize that you're in control of your thoughts. But most people, their minds have them, that they don't have a mind. When you realize that you have a mind, you have to stand up to yourself, stand behind your thinking and observe yourself. And if you are not feeling good, that means that you're entertaining some thoughts that are thoughts that will make you feel badly. And now you can do thought exchange. You can exchange those negative thoughts for positive thoughts. And by entertaining and focusing on those thoughts, you will feel better immediately.
You always feel happy, Ismail?
I don't feel good all the time, no. But I usually feel bad after I eat something that I'm not supposed to eat. I feel good while I'm eating it. And then for about 5 seconds, I feel badly afterwards. And then I pick myself up. It's that I saw a skinny man get hit by a truck. Had he had just a little bit more cushion, he might have lived.
When you're attracting money, what do you think the number one most important thing is?
I think the law of attracting money comes into effect after you have put in the work. And work, I like to break it up in an acronym. W stands for the willingness to do whatever is required, like you're moving from where you live, from your family, and coming to Los Angeles in pursuit of your dream and creating a life that you envision. O stands for optimism. The only reason that a person will venture out to pursue their dream is there's a feeling within themselves that I can do this and I can have this. R means to reinvent yourself, because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. And K stands for kindred spirits. By joining up with Mariah and other like-minded people, you create a synergy that gives you momentum to achieve your dreams and be able to live a life for your passion and not a pension.
Do you think we have to work? What if we don't like our job and our work? Do we have to do it anyway just because we want to get money?
I think that work is what you do when you're doing something that you don't like and it's out of alignment with your purpose. You were not born to work for a living, but to live your making. When you're living your making, you're just having fun, so it's not work at all.
What he teach basically that whatever we think, it's bring the right people to us, and we don't have to know how we're gonna make the money. But if we want to make the money, we'll make the money. It doesn't matter how.
Part of it is what he's saying is true. You don't have to know how. That's not important. However, once you put in the work, work is the law of the universe. It creates a magnetism. When you put in the work, then you're doing what you can do, and God will do what you can't do. And that's when you begin to attract the people, the things, the resources, the money, and everything you need to bring it to the next level. Work is mandatory for producing a life that you envision for yourself. You cannot escape work. The secret to life is in your thinking. Number one is understand that we think. And the content of our thoughts determines the quality of our lives. When you change your content, when you exchange the thoughts that you now have for the thoughts that represent the life that you want to create, that thought exchange creates another thought, which is expanded awareness. And it now changes how you see things. When your awareness is expanded because of the quality of the new positive thoughts, the difference is that negative people will look at opportunities and all they will see will be the obstacles. But a positive person, the person with the positive content, they will look at obstacles and all they will see will be the opportunities. You become what you think about and act upon most of the time. You cannot think about becoming the world's greatest pianist and not touch a piano. If you work at it and you practice and get good coaching, you can become the world's greatest pianist. But you just can't think and visualize yourself playing the piano every day and not take any lessons and not get any coaching and expect to attract the world championship of becoming the world's greatest pianist. That's not possible.
So you can attract situations with your thoughts, but when the situations come to you, you're saying you have to take action on them.
No, I'm saying that you attract conditions in your life that you repeatedly engage in activity and actions that produce the conditions.
Now, do you think money has too much negative energy and emotions, and that's why a lot of people say they don't have money in their life?
I think that money just is. It is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so, as Shakespeare would say. Money is just a representation for those who have the skill, the talent, and the gift to exchange for the money that they're able to demand for their talents, their abilities, and their gifts. Money just is. It's a tool that's being used by people.
So for people that have this really negative mindset and they're always thinking bad thoughts, what's a good way to shift from those negative thoughts to become a positive person? Where do they begin?
By exposing themselves to, one, audio programs that can retrain their thinking. You know, the way that we know our name is somebody called us that repeatedly. So listening to positive messages over and over again, that begins to train our thinking. And two, by reading things that will begin to replace the thinking that we now have. Four, become consciously aware of the fact that we cannot control the thoughts that come in our minds, but we can control the thoughts that we dwell on. As we listen to positive messages constantly and read them and become consciously conscious of the thoughts that we are thinking, because we are the thinker who's thinking the thoughts are not thinking us, that we can now begin to manage our thoughts and hold on to those thoughts that's moving us in the direction of the life that we want to create for ourselves. Let go and don't entertain the thoughts that represents the negatives.
Who do you listen to?
I listen to a variety of people. Earl Nightingale, as I have been listening to from childhood. I listen to Jim Rohn, who recently passed. I listen to John Maxwell, who does a great deal on leadership. I listen to a variety of speakers, including myself.
No, there is so many speakers and a lot of speakers. Where can they find your stuff?
They can find my stuff on the internet, and that is at lesbrown.com. I think that what works best for me is that you select relationships with people that you can learn from, that you can grow from, people that you observe, and they represent the qualities of what it is you want to have in your life. And by developing a strategic relationship with them, as Kinko's has done with FedEx, as AT&T has done with Singular, that you're able to create through the combination of the new relationship a win-win, that you learn from them and they'll learn from you. You provide value for them and they'll provide value for you.
What is the key for wealth, in your opinion?
The key for wealth is understand and know that you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. What's the value that you bring? And according to the value that you bring, that will determine what the universe will give you for that which you have. Hopefully, that which you love and that which is your passion is something that you master, and it's of service and can provide some impact to improve the quality of people's lives. And if you're able to do that, the world will be the path to your door if you're also a good marketer.
That's very valuable. And do you have something else to say about creating wealth?
Yes, I had a babysitter once who, she took pictures of me. She never abused me. She was very kind to me. Her name was Mariah, and I just want her, if she's seeing this interview, just to know that I thank her so very much. She was always very kind to me.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Les.
Aw, sweet.
Thank you, Uncle Les.
My search led me to the study of the spiritual forces with which all of us are blessed. And it was in this field that I came upon a clue which has enabled me to help millions of people to find their earthly destinies. I want to describe my discovery in the simplest terms possible, because it will reveal to you why it is true that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve, regardless of how many times you may have failed in the past or how lofty your aims and hopes may be. I caught my first fleeting glimpse of the profound law which provides the means by which we may choose our own purpose in life and attain it, while I was being coached by Andrew Carnegie during the organization of the Science of Success philosophy. I had just finished telling Mr. Carnegie that I feared he had chosen the wrong person to give the world the first practical philosophy of personal success because of my youth, my lack of education, and my lack of finances. Well, at this point, Mr. Carnegie delivered a lecture that I shall never forget, because it changed my entire life and paved the way for my helping to change the lives of millions of people, some of them not yet born. Let me call your attention to a great power which is under your control, said Mr. Carnegie, a power which is greater than poverty, greater than the lack of education, greater than all of your fears and superstitions combined. It is the power to take possession of your own mind and direct it to whatever ends you may desire. This profound power, Mr. Carnegie continued, is the gift of the Creator, and it must have been considered the greatest of all of his gifts to man, because it is the only thing over which man has the complete and unchallengeable right of control and direction. When you speak of your poverty and lack of education, Mr. Carnegie explained, you are simply directing your mind power to attract these undesirable circumstances, because it is true that whatever your mind feeds upon, your mind attracts to you. Now you see why it is important that you recognize that all success begins with definiteness of purpose, with a clear picture in your mind of precisely what you want from life. Then Mr. Carnegie continued his speech with a description of a great universal truth which made such an impact upon my mind that I began then and there to give myself a new outlook on life and set up for myself a goal so far above my previous achievements that it shocked my friends and relatives when they heard about it. Everyone, said Mr. Carnegie, comes to the earth plane blessed with the privilege of controlling his mind power and directing it to whatever ends he may choose. But, he continued, everyone brings over with him at birth the equivalent of 2 sealed envelopes, one of which is clearly labeled, the riches you may enjoy if you take possession of your own mind and direct it to ends of your own choice. And the other is labeled, the penalties you must pay if you neglect to take possession of your mind and direct it. And now let me reveal to you, said Mr. Carnegie, the contents of those 2 sealed envelopes. In the one labeled riches is this list of blessings. 1, sound health. 2, peace of mind. 3, a labor of love of your own choice. 4, freedom from fear and worry. 5, a positive mental attitude. 6, material riches of your own choice and quantity. In the sealed envelope labeled penalties, Mr. Carnegie continued, is this list of the prices one must pay for neglecting to take possession of his own mind. 1, ill health. 2, fear and worry. 3, indecision and doubt. 4, frustration and discouragement throughout life. 5, poverty and want. 6, and a whole flock of evils consisting of envy, greed, jealousy, anger, hatred, and superstition. Now, my mission in life is to help you and everyone who needs my help to open up and use the contents of the sealed envelope labeled riches. And the starting point from which you must take off if you wish to write your own ticket from here on out for the remainder of your life, I will describe for you in these simple instructions. 1, procure a neat pocket-sized notebook, or something on the order of this one here, loose leaf affair. And on page 1, write down a clear description of your major desire in life, the one circumstance or position or thing which you will be willing to accept as your idea of success. And remember before you begin writing that your only limitations are those which you set up in your own mind or permit others to set up for you. And 2, on page 2 of your notebook, write down a clear statement of precisely what you intend to give in return for that which you desire from life. And then start in right where you stand now to begin giving. And 3, memorize both of your statements, what you desire and what you intend to give in return for it, and repeat them at least a dozen times daily. And always end your statements with this expression of gratitude for the blessings with which you were gifted at birth. I ask not, O divine providence, for more riches, but more wisdom with which to accept and use wisely the riches I received at birth in the form of the power to control and direct my mind to whatever ends I desire. If you are not too successful or self-satisfied to accept and express this profound prayer, if you accept it and express it in the same spirit of humble sincerity in which I pass it on to you, a new and a better world will reveal itself to you. A world in which you will see reflected the circumstances and the things which you yourself have created. And now let me close this, our first visit, with my favorite expression of gratitude. O divine providence, I ask not for more riches, but more wisdom with which to make wiser use of the riches you gave me at birth, consisting in the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever ends I desire.